Last week, Lebanon's cabinet spent nearly 6 hours debating what was framed as the monopoly of weapons by the state, ending with an order to the army to prepare a detailed plan to place all weapons in Lebanon under government control by the end of the year, including those of the Lebanese resistance. The order came after repeated visits by U.S. envoy Tom Barrack, who brought a disarmament timetable and pressured Prime Minister Nawaf Salam to accept it. 2 days later, on August 7, ministers approved the objectives of the U.S. drafted plan, which included maintaining the November ceasefire, disarming all non-state actors nationwide, deploying the army along the border, and securing the Israeli withdrawal. Albeit, the Israeli withdrawal came with no deadline or means of enforcement. This all goes back to the ceasefire agreement between Lebanon and Israel that came into effect on November 27, 2024. The ceasefire was, in essence, a cessation of hostilities, not a UN resolution, but a French and US brokered operational plan, built on UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which ended the 2006 war. Nonetheless, Israeli forces began violating the ceasefire within hours of its implementation, through artillery shelling of multiple towns, machine gun fire directed at civilian homes, and at journalists covering the return of displaced residents to their villages. Since then, Israel has carried out over 4,300 recorded breaches. These breaches include continuous air raids and artillery shelling across the south and Bekaa, destruction of bulldozers and trucks clearing war debris, demolition of homes and schools in southern Lebanon, and demolition of entire residential buildings in Beirut's southern suburb. And daily warplane and drone overflights across Lebanese airspace, breaching Lebanese sovereignty. So far, over 240 Lebanese have been killed in direct Israeli attacks. The Lebanese cabinet's August decision is far from a peace plan. It's a political instrument to strip Lebanon of its deterrence while giving Israel freedom to continue its occupation and aggression. And here's why. First, the agreement demands that Hezbollah dismantle its entire military infrastructure before Israel withdraws from occupied Lebanese territories. And if Lebanon fails to comply, automatic sanctions follow. If Israel fails, a diplomatic complaint to the Security Council, where the US would automatically shield Israel with vetoes. In a televised interview, Lebanon's defense minister was asked over 12 times what guarantees there were that Israel would respect any agreement after Hezbollah's disarmament. His answer repeatedly, "We'll see disarmament first." No clarity, no guarantees. Second, UN Resolution 1701 only applied south of the Litani River. This new US paper extends disarmament nationwide. Third, instead of integrating Hezbollah's defensive capabilities into Lebanon's armed forces, the plan requires destroying them under international supervision. This eliminates the only systems that have deterred Israeli incursions for 20 years. Fourth, Lebanon's army becomes a static border force under tight monitoring. The force depends on international funding tied to compliance, making national defense hostage to foreign political agendas. Fifth, all reconstruction aid, including the promised $1 billion, is tied to Lebanese disarmament benchmarks, effectively turning aid to conditional leverage. Again, Lebanon is expected to meet its obligations before Israel with no way to guarantee that Israel followed through with its end of the deal. Sixth, previous arrangements were anchored in UN resolutions. This new deal is a US paper, drafted outside the UN, not ratified by the Security Council, and most importantly, not legally binding for Israel. Washington gets total discretion to interpret compliance while protecting Israel. Seventh, it violates the Lebanese constitution. Lebanon's sectarian system requires cross-sectarian consensus for major decisions. Shia ministers walked out, meaning no consent from the community most affected. Forcing the decision through violates the national pact and undermines government legitimacy. Eighth, Lebanon already complied. Hezbollah withdrew south of the Litani as required. Lebanon's army and UNIFIL deployed in its place. Meanwhile, Israel still occupies Lebanese territory and conducts daily violations. Yet, this decision places even more obligations on Lebanon. Ninth, this decision formalizes a disarmament first, peace later formula that historically Israel has always undermined. Even Israeli media called it a strategic gain and a first step toward normalization. During the cabinet meeting, one minister reportedly asked Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, "How can we talk about disarming the resistance while Israeli planes violate our skies and bomb our homes daily?" Salam shot back, "Then shoot them down if you can." A phrase that disappointed most Lebanese, that sensed an indifference toward their suffering, even if it came from a man that was parachuted into the Lebanese political scene as a technocratic option that would only serve one term. Hezbollah immediately rejected the decision, declaring, "We will treat the decision as if it does not exist." The party called it a grave sin that fully serves Israel's interests. Hezbollah argues its arms are non-negotiable until full Israeli withdrawal and a proven end to violations. It is the martyred Secretary General of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, who had famously said, "If you are weak, the world will not protect you. What protects you is your weapons, your power, your readiness." To understand things better, let's look at Syria. In the days following the Assad regime's fall, Israel targeted Syria with over 480 airstrikes, systematically destroying Syria's military capabilities, naval ships, air defenses, chemical weapons facilities, and military headquarters. Military capabilities the Syrian people built over decades and under sanctions. Yet, Syria's new government under Ahmad al-Shara has offered unprecedented peace overtures to Israel. Damascus pledged it poses no threat to Israel and would not meddle in anything that threatens Israel's security. The new Syrian leadership even established direct dialogue with Israel and held indirect talks through mediators. And even that did not stop Israeli aggressions on Syria, targeting the Ministry of Defense and the presidential palace, not to mention its intervention in Suwaida. Israel's new post-October 7 doctrine emphasizes preemptive action over deterrence and demands all borders must have buffer zones. Despite Syrian peace assurances, Israel expanded beyond the 1974 buffer zone and announced plans to double the Israeli population in the occupied Golan Heights. The message is clear. Israel's new strategy prioritizes permanently degrading military capabilities and establishing territorial buffer zones, regardless of peace offers. Under UN Charter Article 51, nations have the inherent right to self-defense when the state cannot defend its population. In Lebanon's military imbalance with Israel, non-state resistance has become central to national defense. Since 2000, armed resistance has been the only force to compel Israeli aggression. Disarming without verified Israeli compliance removes the last deterrent to renewed invasion. Essentially, the Lebanese cabinet's decision is capitulation, disguised as pragmatism. Lebanon gives up its deterrence for empty promises, while Israel maintains its occupation with international blessing. Removing the right to resist in exchange for promises from those who shield Israeli violations is national suicide.